Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Welcome, Fearless Freedom family. Oh my gosh, we got a treat today. We have the Dr. Alexis McRae with us, and she is a dynamic and awesome. Let me tell you, she is one of the women that are responsible for training me. So that was a big job. So I'm definitely very grateful. So basically, Dr. Alexis McRae is an emergency physician, but she is so much more. She's also an entrepreneur. And Dr. McRae, I'm gonna let you tell the audience all about you and what you're up to.
All right. Well, hi. I'm Dr. Alexis McRae. I am an ER doctor. I've been practicing emergency medicine for at least 21 years. Last year, I opened Your Best You Medical Spa, Medical Aesthetics, Health, and Wellness Center. So very exciting. Actually, November 17th. November 17, 2017, it was opened after a lifetime dream of wanting to start my own business. So that was huge. And I'm pretty excited. I'm excited to be on this podcast today and just happy to be here.
Awesome. Wow. So now you like open up some things there, right? So we talked about this being a lifelong dream. So now you tell us about that. Like, how did this dream get started? And then what kind of brought you to this grand opening in November 18th of 2017?
All right. So the story's a little bit convoluted, but I'll do the best I can. So when I was a little girl, I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I told my mom, what I wanted. I was thinking about what I wanted to be when I grew up. I said, I either want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a business person. I said, business people have to work too late and work really long hours and make deals and kind of be mean to people. So I don't think so.
Okay.
I said lawyers, and excuse me, attorneys. I got a lot of attorney friends, but real talk, I was like, I think they have to tell quite a few lies, and they're not going to have as many friends. So I don't want to do that. And then I was really good at that young age at math and science, and I wanted to help people. So I said, cool, I will become a doctor. So it was pretty general decision at that point. I will be a doctor. So that's what I decided, and that is the path I embarked on. But when I went to medical school, I actually went to medical school to become a psychiatrist. And everything about my courses at Penn State and all my extracurriculars and everything I got involved in was extremely focused on psychiatry. I was even ready to stay at Penn State Hershey outside of the match, not even match, and just work in the psych department there.
Wow.
So I know, right?
That's commitment right there.
All right, I know. A lot of people don't know this story. Then I took an elective in the ER, one rotation in the ED. And let me tell you about this day. It was like the worst day ever. I woke up. I was nauseated. I was throwing up. I had back pain. Well, it turns out I had a kidney stone. First day of the ER rotation. So I got to see what it was like working there, see what it was like being a patient, and then have the longest day, one of the first longest days of my life. And how about I loved it? I was like, this is it. I had an epiphany. I was one of those people who just saw magic in working in the ED just the first day I was there. So I scrambled and talked to everybody and got all my letters and everything, and then applied for ER residency. So I wound up training at New York Methodist Hospital, which is actually New York Presbyterian now. Okay. And it was my first choice. So I matched at my first choice. It was a
That's
brand new.
awesome. I mean,
I know.
considering like you like did it last minute.
Exactly. It was my first choice. I matched. I didn't have any problem, and I got to go home. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. So I spent the next 3 years in my ED residency in New York, and then when I was finishing up residency, my mom got sick, and I was waiting. We were waiting for a lot of test results, so I didn't apply for a job, and I waited and I waited, and then finally she was well. So
Thank goodness.
thank God, right?
Yes.
So I go to work in the ED and I'm checking my mailbox, and these like the ASAP news or emergency medicine news, whatever it was, falls out. On the back cover, there's a full page cover that says Duke is looking for physicians. I never had any intention of teaching. I was always going to go into the community. If you know me, you know the white coat really is if I get cold or I don't want to get my nice clothes dirty. Otherwise, I'm not about the hierarchy. I'm mostly fight the power. So I applied for the job and I got it, which is how we met, right?
That is right. That is right.
So I practiced in the ED starting at Duke in 2001. I will tell you now that this is when the dream to start my own business began. I was 6 months into that job when I started feeling like, wait a minute, I love the ED. I love what I do, but I don't love not having control over my own life and my own schedule. I didn't like it. It's not that I'm not a hard worker. I just wanted more control. So the seed was planted 6 months in of my first job out of residency. And then by year 4, by 2004, I was actually starting to feel burned out already. And that continued to fuel. You need to get more control over this situation. You need to start deciding what you're going to do next. I wasn't even 10 years out, so it was interesting. And I'll talk to you, telling me to shut up, so I'll keep going.
No, keep talking. You're good.
So then what happened was I decided to become an independent contractor of emergency medicine. I finished out my tenure at Duke. I signed up with a locums group, and that was my first taste of I am my own boss.
Nice.
I worked my ass off.
I'm sure you did. Locums is no joke. Locums is definitely like you eat what you kill kind of situation.
Yes, exactly. And you're essentially a firefighter. You go places that are dangerous and no one wants to be, and that are deserted, and you work 12 and 24-hour shifts. Yeah, they pay you for it, but you work hard. Because I started it so early in my career, it really molded me. It really made me tough. I really learned a lot. And along the way, what I did was I paid attention and I collected pearls from watching other providers that had been in the game 20, 30 years get burnt out. They were fried. They were fried. And so it fueled it. I said, no, this is not going to be me.
Right.
So what I did was I continued to be an independent contractor from 2004 to 2013. In that window, what I did was I started studying different things outside of emergency medicine, dermatology, laser techniques, light-based therapy. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was new, it was fresh, and it was an option for me to build the type of practice that I want to have. So I was able to put together so many things that I had seen, so many situations I had worked in, and I said, wait a minute, maybe I can make this work. Maybe I can build something unique out of it. So that's when I started taking courses in medical aesthetics. And then it was around 2010, I think, that I realized I had the opportunity to get a board certification in it. So then I pushed on and until I was board certified. So I at that point, by 2010, I was really fried because I was now still working in an environment at this point I didn't want to be in.
Right.
It was at that point my lifelong dream had simply become a means to an end. You
Wow.
talk, you talk about a
Wow.
blow.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about a crushing blow and you can't tell anybody that. You can't share that because they don't get it.
That's
Because
true.
if you're a doctor that goes, oh gosh, my job is just the worst. You know how many people say, oh yeah, it must be terrible having that boat in that big old house. First of all, I don't have a boat, okay?
And don't have a big old house.
And I don't have a big old house. And the little old house that I'm in, because I have a big old student loan, I never get to see.
Right. Yeah, the misconceptions are rampant.
Yes. And the misconceptions are also rampant within our own community.
Oh,
I
yes,
think
true.
there's so many of us striving to maintain this persona that sometimes we can't talk to each other. So I was starting to feel like I was drowning in that. And so when I started taking my courses in medical aesthetics, I started to meet people from all specialties. And every single person I spoke to was getting fried with what they were doing.
Interesting.
So we
Yeah.
were all in the same boat, and it was
Mm-hmm.
freeing. It was really freeing. And so I just kept working towards it. One of the things that really helped me is it's very similar to you, is I got really, really involved in my group fitness.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I
Because
am
you
I'm
do Zumba, right? What do you do?
Yes, I
Yeah.
am a licensed Zumba instructor.
Oh yeah. That's
Because
like the bomb. That is so cool. Let me just tell you, I'm
you
fangirling
know,
you right now.
come on, I'm fangirling you, Miss Beats Body. But no, and so I realized that the only time I felt truly happy, as corny as it sounds, is when I was dancing.
Mm-hmm.
I would get to class and I would just be mopey and downtrodden. People were like, "Oh, Dr. McRae, how was it?" I'm like, "Just don't ask," you know.
Oh,
But the music would come on and it all washed away. And what I noticed was that happened for everybody in the class, no matter
nice.
what they did for a living.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many people I took class with and people I taught that did not know and may not know until they hear this podcast that I'm a
That you're a
physician?
doctor?
And I love that.
No, I
I
think that's
love that.
perfect.
I do. I love that. I love that. But with that, I really started again because the whole health and wellness, it goes in cycles, right? So
Yes,
you're on your A game for like a year, and then you hit a bad patch and carbs are your friend and you're
that's
too
right.
tired to work out, et cetera, et cetera. So as my weight fluctuated, as my energy fluctuated, I was like, something's got to give. I got to do something for me. So while I continued to take my courses in medical aesthetics, I continued to work on me. And part of my commitment to me was, you know what? You're going to become an instructor, because not only are you going to be accountable to yourself, you are going to be accountable to your students. And you are
Nice.
going to be someone that practices what they preach. Have I fallen off? Heck yeah. This is
Oh, you're
life. I'm
human.
human. I'm human.
That's
I'm
right.
human. But you just got to get back up when you do. So the combination of studies, being a group fitness instructor, brings us to 2016. In
Okay.
2016, I got sick. I got suddenly and rapidly ill. Again, this is going to be something a lot of people don't know because I'm very private. I'm very gregarious. It always seems like everything's fine. But I actually got so sick that I wound up being out of work for 3 months.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, see? And we were probably talking during that time. But and I was
Oh my
laid up.
goodness. Girl, you
But
should not be hiding things like that. It's not right.
but I'm glad you said that, because right, we another arm of this is our career is such that we have to be strong. We have to
Yeah.
be so strong because our job is to heal and help other people and hold other people up. So if there's a chip in our armor, how can, the
Right.
perception, which is not correct, is how can we do for other people if they see that our armor has chinks in it? I'll backtrack a little bit and just say, before I wound up out of work, I went through about a 6 to 8 month period where I cried on the way to work. I cried on the way home. I
Wow.
cried in
Yes.
between patients. I just was miserable, and I thought I was having a nervous breakdown. And I told no one, absolutely no one, because I felt like it was a sign of weakness.
Oh my gosh. So you suffered alone. See,
alone.
this is the thing that like kind of, I went through some pretty ridiculous bout with burnout as well. But, the thing about it is like, you really do believe that ridiculous state that you're in is normal. Like you
Yes.
thinking it's normal to cry in between patients and cry on the way to work. Just like how I thought it was normal to like have a death grip on the steering wheel and have to talk my fingers into unclenching the steering wheel to get up and get into the hospital. I mean, it is just not right that we get
it's
to
not fine.
You know what I mean? Like that's not normal. Like there's no other place where people can do that. Like people do that. If a pilot is feeling burnt out, guess what? The pilot is going to get help because the pilot realizes that every single time they get in the cockpit, they are responsible for greater than 50 lives. You know what I mean?
Yes. Just
how
like
can
us,
we?
right?
I mean, I don't understand how come we're different. Like I don't get it. I talk
I
about it a lot, and I still don't have an answer.
I think my opinion, my observations are such that if you're not born that way, being in this field, specifically a surgical field, you're bred that way. It becomes your environment. It becomes kind of a survival of the fittest. You have to show you're tough. You have to prove your worth. We quite often, just like we are two female providers having this conversation, it is not that often that if you work in the same department, you'll actually be friends, because it's a male dominated field. So you feel like there's not enough space for both of you to be awesome. So you bust your tail trying to show that you're the cream of the crop, to the detriment of everything else in your life. And that
that's
is what I was feeling.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. That
Yeah.
just hurts my heart, because it's like, man, because we try, trying now, now the conversation at least is in the fore. I mean, before it was like, when I was going through it, like nobody, I didn't even know what burnout was. Like, I was like, what is that? And when I told my partners, what happened to me, they were like really shocked, because people just don't, it's not talked about. But yeah, we should never be in a situation where we're suffering like that, because the problem is that when that becomes normal, like you described and that I described, the next step, because you isolate yourself because you're feeling like, okay, I'm weak right now. I am not able to, show my full strength. And so you pull back. You're not having those connections that are essential to getting you out of it. I mean, thankfully, it sounds like you were able to find an avenue through which you could escape, so you found a passion that you can pursue, and, with Zumba and with, your pursuit of the aesthetic medicine, venture. But not everybody has that, which is the scary part, because then we get into that isolation mode and we cut off relationships, and then the next thing is depression. And unfortunately, many of us, to the tune of 400 reported per year, are killing themselves, which I think is like ridiculous. It shouldn't be that way.
And we see these numbers, they're going up annually. And there was a time when I read the numbers and I read the reports and I thought, oh, I can't see how that would happen. Like, I don't understand. Why didn't they get help? When it was me, I 100% understood how. Because you cut yourself off to the point where you can't even stand yourself, because on the one hand, you're sad, but on the other hand, you're judging yourself for being sad.
Right.
I mean, I feel like that's the epitome of being between a rock and a hard place.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you made it through. And I'm like,
thank you.
I want to, you know what I mean? Like that is like, oh, that's like my pain point right there. It's like, you just hit the spot like,
I feel ready to tell the story because it's been 3 years.
I got you.
It's been 3 years and I finally feel like I weathered the storm. I am legitimately still standing and I'm so much stronger for it. So It's something that needs to be told. It's something that people who are going through anything need to hear.
Yes.
No suffering, no sadness is too great or too small. Ask for help.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, you look, you didn't get to it yet, but I'll jump out there and go, that is one of my biggest weaknesses. My pride.
Gotcha.
My pride in a lot of ways sometimes keeps me still to this day from asking for help when I need it. But I'm learning. I'm learning.
Well, that's the most important part, like the recognition, and then the fact that you are taking steps towards changing. I mean, I think
Right.
that's gold right there for sure.
Yeah. So here I am.
So now, so you had this, you had the nadir where you were in the throes of burnout. Then you had the illness, right? So to the illness. So you had the illness, and now the thing that you were doing and that you were, that called your name and that pulled you in, which is emergency medicine, that thing is taken away from you for 3 months. So
Yes.
how did that go?
Okay. That was the best 3 months of my life.
Really?
Because I was not, and I had to tease out exactly what I felt.
Okay.
I was sad. But what I was sad about was I couldn't get up and go and dance. I couldn't get up and go do the things that bring me joy. Going to the ER didn't bring me joy anymore. That 3 months was a vacation from the ER. It was also the moment, though, and I made myself say it out loud, as corny as it sounds. It was in that 3-month block that I made myself say out loud and admit basically to the universe, I'm tired of being in the ER. I don't want to be there anymore. I am leaving and I am not going back. I literally had to hear myself say it, but I also had to follow it with, and that's okay. Yeah. See, that's the thing. I was judging myself about it. I spent more years there probably than I needed to, just judging myself about what it would look like to leave. Mm-hmm. But I finally forgave myself and gave myself permission in those 3 months. And in those 3 months, I had a business plan that was already completed. It was just sitting there. It was just sitting there. And, I wound up in the 3 months that I was out. The reason I was out is I wound up having major surgery. Before I closed my eyes, I said, dear God, if I wake up from this, I'm going to shit or get off the pot. And that's what I did. I started looking for a new job. I put my home on the market. Okay. I started looking for a new home in Charlotte because my market research had determined that was the place for me to go. Okay. And I had a really, really good friend. Our friendship just blossomed incredibly during this period, who came into my home while I was on my sick leave and took orders. And
what do you mean took orders?
She did everything I needed her to do that I couldn't do.
I got you.
Because I wasn't supposed to do any heavy lifting or anything. Gotcha. She helped me pack my house and get it ready to put on the market. My home went on the market like 2 weeks after I went back for my last week of work in the ER. Wow. Yes. So I sold my home, moved into my condo in Charlotte, and started my new life in August of 2016. Wow. Yeah, and I took a year where I did actually 18 months where I did urgent care. I actually, in terms of timing, had given myself 3 years because we have to give ourselves parameters. Gave myself 3 years. You have to give yourself parameters. It's all fine and dandy to live your dreams, but within reason, and you need a plan. You need a plan. Right. You do not go forth willy-nilly. So
that's right.
In that, and you still gotta make a living, right? Especially when you're branching out on your own. Absolutely. So worked in urgent care. In that time period, I was in the midst of finishing up a deal for practice financing. And then I got the next blow, which was the bank decided, you know what, it's too much of a risk. By the way, I had found a location, and the bank decided it was too much of a risk to invest in my business. and pulled out at the last minute
Oh my goodness.
to the tune of $350,000.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Right, right. But you know what? I said, okay, well, let me not lie. First, I got in the bathtub and I cried for a really long time.
Heck yeah. I would have been screaming, crying, kicking, hitting, all kinds of things.
First, I got in the bathtub several nights in a row, cried a lot. I got all distraught. I felt despair. I didn't share it with people. I just kept getting up, going to work every day. And then I had to get up and brush my shoulders off and say, wait a minute, you did not go into this willy-nilly. You worked all those years, you saved, you can do this. It may be just a little bit harder than you planned in the beginning, but you're ready. You're ready. So it's time to go. It's time to pull the trigger. And so in September of 2017, I signed the lease on my location, my first location. Let's put that into the atmosphere.
Nice. I love it.
Because I'm building an empire
plans
here. That's right.
Scale
I'm
up.
building an
Scale
empire. And signed the lease in September, opened the doors in November. And
awesome.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all. Y'all gotta give her a clap for that. I mean, that is awesome. You know what I mean? That's like, you step out on faith, you just jump and you're like, look, I'm gonna gain those wings on the way down. I don't care how it's gonna happen, but it's gonna happen.
Right. I'm not trying to die, so I'm gonna fly.
That's right.
That's pretty much it.
That's right.
Yep.
Awesome.
In terms of being an entrepreneur, I guess this is probably the second hardest thing I've ever done.
It's hard. There's no doubt about it.
Right. There's pitfalls every step of the way. You can't plan for everything.
Right.
But it is the best thing I've ever done. I would not change a thing. I don't intend to turn back or look back. It's amazing.
Awesome. So now you have touched on a few things that definitely I know you learned some lessons about facing fear and overcoming and being victorious. So let's just even talk about, so you had that moment when you were just like, look, I'm either going to sink or swim. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to make it happen. Talk about kind of that feeling that you had. Like you had to have some fear associated with that decision.
Sure. Yeah. Specifically, it was surrounding the loan falling through. Because that is what the practice was going to be built on, those finances. So not that you don't have the ability to obtain money elsewhere, or you might not have money socked away somewhere if you saved well, but that money was like going to be the cushion. It was going to be the thing that made it okay. You know what? That made it safe. It was going to be the thing that made it safe.
Yeah.
And my safety net just was snatched out from in front of me and from under me. And I felt sick. Literally. I felt nauseated and sweaty. And it happened while I was working a shift at the urgent care.
Oh, and wow. So you had to go see patients after that.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct. I literally broke into a sweat. I had to will myself not to burst into tears. I went outside for a second and I had to shake it off. I had to. I'm not saying it was easy. So I had to shake it off until I finished my shift, and then I went home and I cried in the bathtub. And I had 3 weeks like that. 3 weeks where I cried and prayed and cried and prayed. And this is a story that I told people when I had my grand opening, when they said, we're so proud of you. This is unbelievable. How did you do this? I said, but by the grace of God, because it was not until I gave in and said, you know what? I'm tired of crying. I'm tired of trying to figure this out on my own. I'm tired of trying to do this all on my own. If this is what my prayer that night before I went to bed was, if this is what I'm supposed to have, Lord, then okay, I'm going to just submit to your will. I'll get it when I'm supposed to get it. I'm paraphrasing. But if it's not, please take it off my heart, because I'm suffering and it is killing me. Those were my words.
Wow.
So it was hard.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you that the next morning I woke up light. Now, I didn't have a new plan. Let me tell you something. But I felt lighter because I had let it go. And I walked into work. And when I spoke to the medical director about something totally unrelated, I said to him, hey, by the way, what do I have to do to go part-time?
Nice.
And and as I hung up, I was just like, what are you doing?
Well,
And I said to
you're
him,
setting it in motion.
exactly. It was one of those moments where I said, we're not done. I am not 100% sure how it's going to get done, but this is going to get done. So I had to give in to my faith. So whatever you believe in, you've got to give into it, because we do not have all the control. We cannot make sure every peg, fits in every hole. It's just not going to happen. So it was terrifying. And I tell you something, there's still days when I'm terrified. There are many days like that. But the good days, the days when I'm not scared and when things are great and I know that this was a great decision, those days are more, so it's worth it.
That's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that. You know what I mean?
No problem.
I feel people need to hear that. They need to hear, because a lot of times people see the end result, the end product. They see the success, but they don't really hear what goes on to lead up to that. They don't hear the struggles. They don't hear the bad days. They don't hear the bad weeks, sometimes bad months and years. They don't hear that story.
Yes.
And so, I really appreciate you sharing that, this is a great thing that's going on right now. But let me tell you, it did not come easy. I didn't just wake up one day and was like, oh, I'm going to open my own business. I'm just going to do this. And then boom, it happens. Some kind of fairy comes in and makes it happen for you. No, it takes work. It takes struggle. It takes sacrifice. So yeah, thank you for sharing the real. That is that's very much appreciated.
I'm always glad to, it's just, I don't think people, suffering is part of life. There's just, things are just not always going to be easy, but anything that we can alleviate for one another, as human beings, we should. If I can give a piece of advice, if something I said today, something somebody hears makes their day a little bit better, helps them get a little bit closer, to their dreams, makes their heart a little bit lighter, then it's worth it. And I've actually done the job I set out to do when I was 8 years old. So we're all winning.
Wow. Bringing that full circle. That is awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you've talked about the journey. You've talked about the fears that you faced and how you overcame them along the journey. Now you got to tell us about this business. We still don't know, what it is. You got to tell us about that.
All right. So people ask me every day, well, what do you do? Do I get a massage? Do I get a mani? Do I get a pedi? And the word spa can be, deceiving. So the practice of medical aesthetics, the best way to describe it is this specialty falls in between dermatology and plastic surgery. Okay. So when you go to the dermatologist for that funky looking mole, they make sure it's not cancer. They get rid of it. And then they don't really care how the rest of everything else looks. They don't care if you're pretty. They just care you don't have cancer. You go to the plastic surgeon and you say, listen, I want a better face or better skin or what have you. They're not and there's no shade on these specialties. Let me just say that. Their goal is to say, okay, yeah, we can nip tuck that, to the tune of whatever it is.
Right.
But medical aesthetics, I am a physician. So I know if that spot looks funky and needs to get checked out and whether or not it looks like cancer and we need to move forward in that direction. And then once we take care of it, then we will make your skin look shiny and new. If you do not want to go under the knife and have general anesthesia and have a humongous bill, but you just want to be refreshed and be the best version of you, I can do that for you. I can help you get there, which is why I chose the name, Your Best You. My goal is to help each person who comes through that door become the absolute best versions of themselves. So yeah, it starts with skincare, and people do come through the door and go, oh, I want Botox. But again, to bring it back,
Yeah.
the first thing I put in that office was a couch. You know why? A nice cushy white couch, so people can come in that door and leave everything on the other side of it behind them for that 1 hour consultation, that initial consultation. As soon as they sit on that couch, the cares of the world are gone, and it changes. I hear about husbands, children. I hear about work. It becomes so much more than, oh, I had this spot on my face. Can we fix it? You
Right.
know, it's about life. It's about living, and how can you get the most out of it? And that is part of the service that we provide. We talk about health and wellness. We talk about exercise, your water intake. I make referrals and suggestions in regard to fitness programs. I suggest activities, because your skin is your largest organ.
Yes.
It is more than what you see. It is there to protect you. And if you don't protect it, it is not going to protect you. What I tell people every day is, you need to protect this investment. You cannot come through the door and say to me, oh, I just want to get rid of these lines. I just want all this Botox, but you're not going to protect it. If you're going to continue bad habits and, et cetera, I don't have to make a laundry list. You're not protecting it. You're not protecting it. You're not helping yourself. And when you decide to become a client in my practice, you join a team. We're in this together. So how you look is how I look, and vice versa. And I make sure people understand that and realize how valuable that is and how much I mean it. My clients have my personal cell phone number.
Wow.
Yes, I know.
That's another level of
I
there.
know. But again, like I said, it goes back to, I started with, hey, when I grow up, I want to be a psychiatrist. I cannot help but get involved with people because we need each other. And I just think if we could get rid of the spirit of animosity and one-upmanship, and we'd lose so few people.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
So it's a lot. It's a mouthful when people say, what do you do?
Right.
I try to explain it, and then I say, why don't you just come see? And I think the clients that we have and we're steadily growing are happy. And they would reiterate exactly what I'm saying. So with that being said, like I said, total, complete skincare, customized skincare plans. I do minimally and non-invasive cosmetic work, including body contouring, women and men's intimate wellness. We may be starting a bioidentical hormone replacement platform soon. So yeah, things are going well.
Okay. No, that sounds fabulous. I'm like, man, all in Charlotte, I'd go check you out.
Well, right now.
That's what I'm saying. Right now our home base is Charlotte, but I'm saying,
that's right.
In the future iterations will probably be elsewhere. But
absolutely,
no, that's
awesome. The plan.
Congratulations again. I mean,
Thank you.
That is such a good situation.
Thank you. And every day when I get up, I'm happy. I'm smiling. It's no problem getting in and out of the car now.
No, that's good.
So
that is good. For sure. Oh my goodness. We have had such a great conversation. Definitely know that the Fearless Freedom family is enjoying all the pearls that you're dropping and how open you've been with sharing your story. And I appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing as well. Because, like I said, we go way back, and I appreciate everything that you've done for me, like in just, helping me to become a physician even now in emergency medicine, and just being a strong woman faculty member was huge back then for me. And I can't speak to my colleagues, but I'm pretty sure they were influenced by you as well. So I definitely wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Awesome. All right, my dear. So now we're at the end of our conversation. And as is tradition on the Fearless Freedom with Dr. G podcast, we have to do the fill in the blanks. All right.
Okay.
So complete the sentence. To me, fearless freedom means
picking yourself up dusting yourself off even when life doesn't go the way you plan.
Great, 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 great. All right. And then if I am fearless, I will.
If I am fearless, I will continue to share my journey with others, including my failures, including my weaknesses, in hopes that they can learn from it.
Preach. And last but definitely not least, my battle cry is
Bring it on. Whatever life wants to dish out, I stay ready, because what doesn't kill me only makes me stronger.
whoop, whoop. Fearless Freedom families, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Fearless Freedom with Dr. G podcast. I appreciate each and every one of you, because I know that you could listen to other podcasts, but I feel extremely privileged and honored to have you listening to mine. And so I hope that you got a great deal of pearls from Dr. McRae during the episode today, because I know I definitely did. I left inspired after our conversation, and just really kind of pushed me to do some things that I feel like I've been putting on the back burner. I need to get going in regards to business related matters related to this podcast, as well as some other things I have cooking. Anyway, I'm super excited that you tuned in. And as a bonus for you for doing so, if you happen to be in the Charlotte area and you happen to find it within your heart to share the podcast, as well as subscribe, leave a 5-star rating if you're on iTunes, then you will definitely get 25% off a service or product at Dr. McRae's Your Best You Medical Spa and Wellness Center. So why not take advantage of this? If you have friends that are in Charlotte, get them listening to the podcast, get them subscribed, get them sharing, and get them out to get their assessment and see how she can help them be their best selves. So thanks again for everything. And I really appreciate you joining me in this journey of facing fear and overcoming and arriving at a victorious point in our lives. So be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness.